Once the casework, drawers, doors, and top were done, it was time to assemble. My first step was to add a horizontal support member under the back of the lower frame. This was a piece of 1.5 inch oak, which would both stiffen the frame and add a ledge for the back panel to set on. Next, I glued the top frame in place, applying glue to the inside top of the face frame and the inside tops of the side panel rails. I then clamped the frame in place and added some screws. Next, I cut some 1/4 inch plywood for a floor and then screwed it in place. To finish the back frame, I cut a maple vertical support to tie the two frames together and attached it with pocket hole screws. Next, I attached some pine strips to the bottom of the upper frame with pocket screws and cleats. These strips would provide a mounting surface for the mating tracks of the bottom mount drawer slides. With the tracks finally in place, I then discovered my drawers were too deep to tilt into the slides, so I had to notch their back sides. Aligning these tracks was the hardest part of this project, next to editing these videos. I probably didn't help myself using scavenged slides from an old particle board desk, though. For the drawer faces, I planed some oak to 1/2 inch thick, then measured them for length in the drawer openings. I cross-cut to length, then measured them for width and ripped them. Next, I ran a 5/32 inch roundover bit around the perimeters. A shout out to Spencer Lewis for suggesting the 5/32 size. I also used this roundover on the non-hinge edges of the doors. Finally, I added some simple oak pulls to the face and attached them to the drawers. I planed and trimmed the doors to fit in their openings, leaving enough gap to allow for the hinges and a swing radius. Then I added the same oak pulls to them to give me a handle as I attached the hinges. I also added some magnetic latches on the bottom for each door. This completed the assembly work, and now it was time for surface prep. I removed the doors and drawers and flipped the cabinet on its side so I could run the roundover bit on the vertical edges. Next, I sanded all flat surfaces with 150 grit, paying extra attention to the joints. I also decided to add a little diagonal brace on each side of the back corners. I attached the top with cabinet screws through oversized holes in the top frame. This would give the top room to expand and contract with the humidity changes. Lastly, I cut a piece of 1/4 inch birch plywood for the back and screwed it in place. Then I remounted the doors and drawers. At this point, the cabinet was complete, except for a finish, but I need to wait for warmer weather so I can do that outside.